Pierre had always been told that the French were lovers of beauty, romance, and passion. But deep down, he felt there was something more, something unspoken that every Frenchman truly desired. It wasn't just love or wealth. It had to be something deeper, something that lingered in the heart long after youth faded. He was a young man of 24, living in the heart of Paris, a city that seemed to breathe desire. By day, he worked as an apprentice to Monsieur Dupont, a wealthy merchant whose life revolved around money and business deals. By night, Pierre wandered the streets, listening to poets, musicians, and dreamers who spoke of love and longing. One evening, as he helped close the shop, he overheard an older gentleman talking in hushed tones to a group of men. The man's voice was firm, certain. Every Frenchman wants the same thing, but few know how to get it. The words lodged themselves in Pierre's mind like an unsolved riddle. He turned to Monsieur Dupont. "What do you think every Frenchman wants?" The old merchant scoffed. "Money, of course. With money you have power, status, and control." Pierre wasn't convinced. The richest men he had seen still looked restless, still chased something beyond gold. That night, he sat with his friend Jacques at their usual café. "What do you think?" Pierre asked, swirling his wine. "What is it that every Frenchman truly wants?" Jacques grinned. "Love, obviously. Look around you. This city is built on romance." Pierre wanted to believe him. After all, wasn't that what the poets recited beneath the streetlights? Wasn't that what the novels and plays all spoke of? But if love was the answer, why did he see so many men still searching, still unsatisfied even after they had found it? He decided to ask others. A musician playing on the bridge told him it was freedom. A soldier passing through said it was glory. A beggar on the street muttered that it was simply a full belly and warm bed. Every answer was different. Yet, they all spoke with the same certainty, as if they had unlocked a secret truth. But Pierre wasn't convinced. He felt there was something more, something no one had yet spoken aloud. Days turned into weeks, and his curiosity grew into an obsession. It wasn't enough to accept a simple answer. He had to know. The old gentleman's words haunted him. Few know how to get it. One evening, as he walked alone by the Seine, he found himself whispering the question to the river itself. What does every Frenchman truly want? The water, of course, gave no answer. But a note, fluttering at his feet, did. It was unsigned, written in careful script. "If you wish to know, meet me at the old bridge at midnight." Pierre's heart pounded. Someone else knew the answer. And they were waiting. Pierre stood at the edge of the bridge, the night air crisp against his skin. Midnight had come, yet the bridge remained empty. His fingers gripped the note in his pocket, its message now burned into his mind. He had expected a shadowy figure, a mysterious informant. Instead, silence greeted him. Just as he turned to leave, an old man stepped forward from the darkness. His face was lined with time, his eyes milky with blindness. "You seek an answer," the man said, his voice steady. "But you chase the wrong things." Pierre swallowed. "Then tell me, what is it that every Frenchman truly wants?" The old man chuckled. "That is for you to discover, not for me to say. But tell me, what have you learned so far?" Pierre hesitated. "I've heard many things. Some say love, others say wealth. Freedom, glory, passion, everyone believes something different. And yet, none of those answers satisfy you." The old man smiled knowingly. "Perhaps you must experience them yourself." The next morning, Pierre sought love. Isabelle, a woman he had long admired, finally agreed to meet him. She was beautiful, her laughter like music, her presence intoxicating. For weeks, they spent their evenings strolling along the Seine, whispering promises of forever. Pierre thought he had found it, the answer to his question. But love, he soon realized, was not enough. Isabelle was restless, her affections fleeting. One evening, she simply did not show up. The next day, Pierre saw her on another man's arm, laughing as if they had never existed. His heart ached, but the emptiness told him the truth. Love alone was not what he sought. He turned to wealth. If love was unreliable, perhaps fortune would offer something solid. He doubled his efforts at the merchant's shop, working long hours, saving every coin. The weight of gold in his hands felt reassuring, promising security and success. Yet he saw Monsieur Dupont, a man who had everything, pacing his office late into the night, his brow furrowed with worry. Even with all his wealth, he was still searching. Frustrated, Pierre visited an artist he had met in the streets. The man lived in a tiny room, surrounded by half-finished paintings. "Money does not fill the soul," the artist said. "Passion does." Pierre envied his certainty, but when he looked at the artist's empty cupboards and worn clothes, he wondered, was passion enough to live on? Days passed, each new pursuit leaving him more confused. The people he met all clung to different dreams, each convinced their answer was the truth. But none of them seemed at peace. One evening, as he walked home, another note appeared at his doorstep. "You have searched in the wrong places. Come back to the bridge. This time, listen." Pierre's pulse quickened. He had followed every path, yet found nothing. But if this stranger knew the answer, then he would return. And this time he would listen. Pierre arrived at the bridge before midnight, his breath visible in the cold air. He had chased love, wealth, and passion, yet none had given him the certainty he sought. The old man was already there, standing with the patience of someone who had seen many restless souls before. "You return," the man said. "Tell me, what have you learned?" Pierre exhaled, his frustration evident. That none of it is enough. Love fades, wealth never satisfies, passion burns out. Every answer I was given led to another question. So tell me, what is it that every Frenchman truly wants? The old man smiled, as if he had been waiting for this moment. "You asked the wrong question. It is not about what they want, but what they fear the most." Pierre frowned. "Fear?" "Yes," the man continued. "Men spend their lives chasing love, money, and dreams, not because they truly desire them, but because they are afraid of what lies beyond. They fear being forgotten. More than anything, they want to be remembered." The words settled in Pierre's mind like the final piece of a puzzle. He thought of the poet on the street corner, pouring his soul into words that would outlive him. The artist, desperate to leave something behind on canvas. Even Monsieur Dupont, hoarding wealth, not for comfort, but for legacy. Isabelle, moving from heart to heart, refusing to fade into obscurity. "To be remembered," Pierre whispered. The old man nodded. "Some seek it through love, hoping someone will never forget their touch. Others through wealth, believing their name will be spoken long after they're gone. Some through passion, creating something that will outlast them. But the truth remains the same. They all want to leave a mark." Pierre thought of himself. His search had never been about finding an answer for its own sake. It had been about finding meaning. What would he leave behind? What would he be remembered for? "Now you understand," the old man said. "But understanding is not enough. The question remains, how will you be remembered?" Pierre had no answer. Not yet. But for the first time, he saw his life not as a pursuit of fleeting desires, but as a chance to create something lasting. The old man turned to leave, his presence fading into the shadows. Pierre remained on the bridge, staring at the city before him. The lights of Paris flickered like distant stars, each one belonging to someone who had loved, dreamed, and chased something greater than themselves. He had spent his life searching for what every Frenchman wanted. Now he knew. The real question was, what would he do with that knowledge? Pierre woke with a sense of clarity he had never felt before. The restless longing that had once consumed him had transformed into something else. Purpose. If every man feared being forgotten, then the only way to truly live was to create something that would endure beyond his own time. He left his job at the merchant shop. Wealth, he realized, was only useful if it could be used to build something greater. He took his savings and sought out struggling artists, poets, and musicians, people who, like him, wanted to leave something behind. He invested in their work, not for profit, but to help them carve their names into history. At first, many doubted him. They questioned his sudden change, his decision to walk away from stability. But Pierre no longer cared for temporary comforts. He had seen men with full pockets and empty lives. He refused to be one of them. Years passed, and word of his effort spread. His name became known, not as a merchant, but as a man who gave others the chance to be remembered. The same bridge where he had once searched for answers became a gathering place for dreamers, a place where voices and ideas echoed into the night. One evening, an eager young man approached him, eyes filled with the same hunger Pierre once had. "Tell me," the young man asked, "what is it that every Frenchman truly wants?" Pierre smiled. He saw himself in the boy's curiosity, the same relentless need to understand. He could have answered easily, could have given him the truth in a single breath. But wisdom was not something handed over, it had to be earned. "You will find out," Pierre said, "if you are willing to search for it." The young man frowned, unsatisfied. Pierre only chuckled, watching as he walked away, no doubt determined to uncover the answer for himself. He turned to the Seine, watching the river carry the reflections of the city lights. The answer had always been there, hidden in the lives of those who had come before him. It was in the stories left behind, in the names etched into history, in the whispers of those who refused to be forgotten. Pierre had once feared the emptiness of not knowing. Now he feared nothing at all.
He had lived.
He had left his mark. And in the end, he knew he would be remembered.